The Korean War. Last minute revision. Chapter 1. Why were the different countries involved in the war? Now, this is based on the model essays that was given to you. So in case you don't understand by reading, you can watch this video, okay? Now, to understand the Korean War, we must understand it through the lens of different questions. The first of this is, why were different countries involved in the war? So, let's go to US first. Primary reason number one is that the US wanted to stop the invasion of South Korea. Now, the North were the ones who started the war first by invading and crossing the 38th parallel after minor skirmishes along the border. Okay, the US did not give enough troops in the beginning because they were wary of Sigmund Rhee. So the fact that they were alarmed by this invasion by the North Korea, signified to them that they needed to protect the South from total communist invasion and total communist domination. So, because of this limited supply in the beginning, they were taken aback, and hence they needed to come in, right, to repel Soviet invasion, to repel the North's invasion. So that is why they came in, so that South Korea will not be totally controlled by communism. Okay, next reason, again, bipolarity and the democracy ideal. So they did not want a totally communist Korea, so you have to prevent the spread of communism. They are afraid that if communism were to enter the whole of Korea, this will spread to their area of interest, which is Japan and Southeast Asia, and true enough, the whole Asia may become communist. So that's why they are wary of this. Not to mention that certain things really alarm them about communism in the region, such as communist victory in China, atomic parity of the Soviet Union, as well as McCarthyism. McCarthyism is the fact that there were spies inside America itself that infiltrated America, that make them more alarmed, make the people more alarmed about the threat of communism, and it's real and it's rising. Okay, so if Korea were to fall, the domino effect of communism will fall upon all the other countries as well. So we have to step into the Korean War to ensure we can safeguard democracy ideas. Okay, this is all part of their grand plan to repel Stalin's grand plan, and also to enforce containment policies. Okay, next, why were the Soviets involved in the war? Now, as you can see, let me go back to the thing. Why were the Soviets involved in the war? Encouragement, confidence of victory. Because initially they didn't want to be involved in this war because they didn't want to be directly involved in a conflict with the US. But certain things pushed them, made them more encouraged that they have alliances. One is the Chinese Communist victory, of course. Next, they exploded their own atomic bomb, so they have achieved atomic parity. So whatever threats the US make or tell them not to do, they can just brush it aside because, hey, I have atomic bombs as well. Okay, next, did Echelon's US defense parameters speech. So he basically said that South Korea was not under the importance of the US defense, but more importantly, Japan was more important than the US. So this pushed Stalin to know that the US will not be defending South Korea that much, and so it is an opportunity to go in and invade in order to spread communism in Asia. So these were the things that really encouraged Mr. Stalin to support the North Korean troops in their invasion to conquer the whole of Korea and unify it under communist rule. Okay, why were the Chinese involved in the war? So basically, perceived threat to security. The Chinese were the ones who said that, hey, Mr. USA, if you were to cross the 38th parallel towards the Yalu River, we would not hold back. Okay, and what happened is that MacArthur actually did this. After repelling the troops to the 38th parallel, he decided to cross it. He decided not to be wary of the Chinese threats and just push on. That is when the Chinese felt that their security is being threatened, because who wants a capitalist, a US controlled country at their backyard? Okay, and of course the US also intended to overthrow communism. They had this reputation, okay, because in the past when China split between Taiwan and China and the nationalists ran away to Taiwan, it was the US who was supporting the nationalist army against the communists in China. So they already have a bad reputation. So the fact that they are nearing the Yalu River signaled a sense of threat to the security of the Chinese. And of course, the Chinese wanted to maintain communism in the region because you don't want to be surrounded by democratic governments. And again, the US has history of intolerance. They had supplied arms and help to the nationalist group the Kuomintang in the Chinese Civil War. So we need to protect North Korea so that our borders are protected and so that this region will be dominated by communism and not democracy. Okay, so that to have more security in the region. So that are the two reasons why Chinese were involved in the Korean War. Okay, next type of question you might get is the Korean War a proxy war or is it a civil war? Was it a proxy, as in was it fought between two external powers contributing, or was it purely because of the Sigmund Rhee and Kim Il-sung who wanted control and justification and reunification of Korea? So if you say that the Korean War was a civil war, you need to talk about Rhee and Sung specifically. These two leaders were highly nationalistic. The fact that they were appointed or they were elected, it was because of their history of wanting to reunify Korea, be it from Japanese rule in the past to now from the external rules as well. So tensions were already there between two of them, two factions, the North and the South. So the fact that they kept on seeking external help to supply troops, to supply advisors, to supply whatever things, already signaled that even without the external powers' influence, these two were already having skirmishes at the border, were already taking steps to want to create control and unify Korea. So in this case, it was a civil war. Okay, another reason why you can say that it was a civil war is because superpowers were not directly involved. Troops withdraw both from the Soviet side and the American side by 1949. Stalin did not want conflict with the US until they dropped the bomb. US did not grant aid to Rhee because Rhee was seen as rash. He was seen as somewhat of like a dictator. So they decided Korea was not important to them. Japan, Taiwan, Philippines was more important to safeguarding of democracy in the region. So that is why they started to withdraw their troops slowly. Again, the two Korean leaders played a more direct role in asking for help. So these are the reasons why you can argue that this was not a civil war. Because Stalin and the US did not want to conflict with each other here. They had more important priorities like in Germany, in Japan, in Taiwan, Philippines. Okay? However, you can say that it's a proxy war because the split along the 38th parallel was first carved out by both these parties at the Potsdam Conference. So the fact that control from Japan was granted to them and they decided to split it up rather than give unification suggested that they had a direct role in this conflict, in the building up of tensions. Okay, so the Soviets wanted to extend communism in Asia and the US wanted to contain communism in Asia. That's why they were directly involved in this conflict, and that's why it is a proxy war. Another reason why it's a proxy war is because of indirect involvement, support, and external powers. Of course, Soviets supported Kim Il-sung instead of the elections, so boycotted the elections to make him the leader of North Korea. And of course, they supplied weaponry and helped training to the North Korean People's Army, the NKPA. Again, the US were the ones who installed a democratic government. They were the ones who pushed for UN support after the invasion in order to contain communism. So if they were not there, the war would not have escalated so much by pushing for both the US and the UN troops into the war. So this made the war big, this escalated the war. Okay, so in this case, it is a proxy war. Now the next tough question, of course, is who is to blame. If you say that North Korea is to blame, it's roughly the same point as just now, is that North Korea was the one who first started invading, and this split the war. This actively escalated the war. Okay, because North Korea was seeking reunification under Song, and they invaded first in 1950 after Soviet support was assured, and they crossed the 38th parallel all the way to Busan. Okay, US and the UN only intervened after the North Korea first started invading all the way to Busan. That's where they decided that, hey, we must intervene, we must come in. So hence, to say who is to blame for starting this war, it has to be North Korea. But of course, you can say the US is to blame as well, because they were the ones who escalated the war. Okay, they were the ones who were paranoid. Not paranoid, okay, but paranoid is an extreme word, but they were the ones who perceived Stalin's master plan to spread communism. So they decided that they must step in, because we do not want communism to spread in the whole Asia. So it is their ideology, there is a struggle for their ideology that got them involved in this war. Again, Dean Echelon's speech encouraged Soviet support for North Korea, because Dean Echelon actually said that Korea is not inside the importance of the defense of the US in containing communism. So their actions indirectly or directly led to the Korean War and escalated it beyond proportions. Soviets to blame, opposite side, of course. They were the ones who approved support for North Korea after they were encouraged. Okay, initially they were reluctant, but because of all the factors that we said just now, atomic parity, Soviet-Sino alliances, they approved Song's request. Only upon approval did Song actually invade in 1950. So they were the ones to blame for starting this war. And finally, the last one, was it a success for the US? You can say yes, because communism was contained from spreading to South Korea. The US managed to contain communism and create a free South Korea that's democratic. Okay, repel and push them back to the 38th parallel, and it did not spread to Korea or Japan. But it did spread to Vietnam though. So that's why it's no, because in the end, they fought for 3 years and it went back to the beginning, which is the 38th parallel. So because of their advancement to the Yellow River, Chinese intervened and pushed them back to 38th parallel. 2 years of fighting, 2 years of finances, 2 years of troops being sent all for nothing, because we went back to square one. In the end, the situation back to after World War II. So you can say that the US lost out in this sense because of all the expenses spent. And finally, impact of the war. Intensification of American involvement in Asia Pacific, most notably Japan, because the threat of Korea actually spurred the US to send more troops to Japan to aid them to contain communism, to set up more bases there. So the area became filled with tensions. Okay, because of American involvement, American bases, and the Soviet bases as well. Okay, next, escalation of military tensions. Again, because of this conflict, NATO, or the alliances, the military alliances of the West and the US, decided to rearm, especially Greece, Turkey, and West Germany. So we must rearm, we must prepare ourselves for future invasions. And of course, the Soviets responded by strengthening their Warsaw Pact, their own military alliances, and hence tensions escalated. So the war was the first of many wars that were to be erupted in the Asia Pacific, or in Asia itself, because of the Cold War. And lastly, it set the precedence for proxy wars. More wars were fought outside of Europe using third parties, because during this period of the Korean War, at home and in various places, propaganda was used. That is when the ideology of democracy and communism became even more prominent in the lives of everyday people who were reading the news every day, reading this propaganda and taking sides, be it for communism or for democracy. And of course, this led to many other third-party wars, both supporting each side of the coin. And of course, this led to the Vietnam War, was a war between communism and democracy. So hence the impact of this Korean War was to set a precedence for more proxy wars. Okay, this is the end of the slideshow. So I hope you enjoyed. I hope you learned something from this, and I hope you will continue revising. Okay, all the best.